Hello, friends. Welcome back. This is going to be a little bit of a different video, a different style of video than the last couple I've done, which have been kind of more vlog style. This time I wanted to experiment more with a sort of video essay slash think piece slash my thoughts on life video. That's what we're gonna go with. We're gonna go on my thoughts on life. That's what we're gonna do. I've been thinking a lot lately about a few things. I think we can all agree that the state of the world is a little bit of a dumpster fire right now. And living through that, I've been thinking a lot about maintaining my mental resources, taking care of my basic needs, my media consumption, and also making time for things that I enjoy. And I guess the big question throughout all of those thoughts has been, am I allowed to be happy when the government is a dumpster fire and there is so much wrong happening in the world right now? And I hope that we can all agree that the world is on fire. And just earlier this year, specifically, that fire felt very big in my personal life. I was so tuned into the news and everything happening nationally and internationally that those feelings of dread and fear and hopelessness were creeping into my everyday life. And those feelings were taking up a lot of my brain space and a lot of my mental and emotional resources. And I'm sure that we've all heard this before, but our brains are not evolved to be taking in this amount of information on that we have access to now on a daily basis. We're not built to do that. So when I try, personally at least, my theory is that my brain interprets all of that information that I'm getting from the news, from the internet, from wherever, and thinks that that is happening in my personal life and is like, girl, we got to do something. But the problems are so far away from my personal circle of control that what could I possibly do individually about those, right? I think we've all had those thoughts. And so what I'm trying to say really is that I think that my brain thinks that all of that information that I'm getting from the news, from TikTok, from YouTube, from wherever, as a more immediate threat to me personally than it actually is. So what did I do about it, and did it work? The first thing that I tried to do was focus in more on my own personal bubble of life, on what is actually happening in my actual life, despite any of the news affecting people across the world, So what is happening in my actual life? And after I kind of focused a little bit more in on what's happening in my own personal bubble, I'm not saying that we should be islands or anything by that means, but just kind of focus in on what's your actual reality. That's kind of what I was trying to do. After that, my therapist did this activity with me where we were able to kind of hone in and focus in on what are my top 3 values? Like, what are the values that help me make decisions in life? The values that I personally try to live by the most. And then what I try to do is pick one way, just one single way to contribute. And then after I felt like I could and was contributing, trying to let go of some of the guilt that I had from being in a better place than a lot of people in the world. That obviously is still a struggle for me, but I'm trying. And then trying to make space for the things that I enjoy, things that bring me fulfillment. And those are some of the things that I feel like have really helped me. So I'm going to kind of go more in depth on those. And I am still refining this process. I'm still getting better. I'm still trying to figure out what works for me and living my life in a way that I feel good about right now with everything happening. So let's go back to this first one. The first one was kind of focusing in more on my own personal bubble, what was happening in my real life. So when I first realized that I had a news consumption issue, with my therapist, I decided that I was going to take a break for a couple of weeks from any sort of news intake that I could possibly control. I mean, so people are going to tell you things. Just, do your best. Do your best. That was what I was trying to do. And even right now, trying to figure out my own level of media and news consumption and like what works for me. It's a work in progress. So when I first realized that I had a news and media consumption issue, I, with my therapist, decided that I was going to take a couple of weeks off from just the news. Not necessarily like media in general, but just the news. Because damn, is that depressing. That's some depressing shit. So I wanted to take a break from that and see if that could give me some perspective on trying to moderate that intake moving forward. And this is still a work in progress for me for sure, but just doing that helped me a ton. My main issue with I'd say like internet information consumption, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, etc., is that I have a job where I have a lot of downtime at work. I can't be home, but I do have a lot of downtime, and my brain feels like it always needs something, right? And I may not have a ton of energy to do like the most intellectual media consumption, we shall say. So my brain just wants that quick dopamine, that quick entertainment, that quick XYZ. So it's really easy for me just to start like doom scrolling on TikTok. And then I also have kind of developed this habit where when I wake up in the morning, I am not a person that where my alarm goes off and I just like pop out of bed. I don't do that. I need at least 30 minutes to stew. I need my 30-minute stew time. I literally build that into my work days, even though that means I set my alarm at 5:45 in the morning. So I do that so I can have my bed stew time, my bed rot time, if you will. And so I've developed this habit where I will scroll on TikTok for that time when I'm first getting up to kind of like get my brain trying to like at least think about something other than trying to go back to sleep, So I've done that, and then I also will do it right before I go to bed too, as I'm kind of like winding down in bed. I'll just kind of scroll the internet, and so those were my main issues, I feel like, with that I'm still thinking about. But back to the matter at hand, is that decided to quit the news for 2 weeks and just kind of see how I felt. See if I could get a plan to moderate my news intake moving forward. And it did really help. Something that I realized, while I was doing that, is that I'm not personally affected in my personal bubble by a lot of what I see on the news. And I say this with some amount of recognized privilege, as I am a white woman in the US today. But the threat level to me personally is not so high that I have to worry about my safety on a daily basis. And it honestly, like, just saying all this, it feels shit. It feels shit to say, because I know that a lot of other people are not in the privileged position that I am at to be able to feel safe daily. But I think it's important to say, and I think it's important to be in touch with what your personal actual reality is, so that you can assess the actual level of threat to you when you are consuming all of the news and things that are happening right now. So doing this kind of 2-week news purge, if you will, really did help me to assess what my personal threat level was. There's also there's a YouTuber, I cannot remember their name right now, but they made a video about doing this exact process of kind of like taking a second to like assess like where your actual threat level was. Like, are you a person of color? Are you trans? Are you XYZ? Right? Like, she literally like took you through the process of like checking all these boxes. It's like one of those things called the You know those like diagrams where they were like, yes, go this way. No, go this way. Oh, a decision tree? A decision tree. She kind of decision trees you through this process to see what your level of threat is, what you actually need to be worried about personally. So that was actually also really helpful for me, kind of like reality check for where I'm at personally. And I will link that in the doobly-doo, if you will. Nerd fighters, anyone? So I will link that in the doobly-doo. Is that trademarked? That can't be trademarked. I don't know. But I say that that's important because I find that with the polarization of news and media and people in general right now, it is easy for your brain to find itself in a spot where it thinks it is in imminent danger, regardless of what your actual situation is. So if any of the things I have shared on this subject of kind of focusing on what your actual reality and your more personal bubble is applicable to you, it might be worth it to take a second to do some realistic risk assessment. I also find that when I was doing this news purge, that it is easier to focus on the things that are going right, the things that are going good, the things that you can be grateful for in your own life. So not everything is colored by this haze of doom and gloom. Because for me, there's a lot of things going right in my personal bubble. There's a lot going right. And doing that media purge, doing that news purge really helps my brain focus in on that. Okay, so on to the next part. Determining my values. I mentioned that my therapist did this activity with me where she took this deck of cards and all the cards have different values on them, and I was supposed to sort them into 3 categories. Things you value most, like things you value okay, and things you value the least. I have a hard time with just 3 categories. I see these sorts of things on a spectrum of what matters to me. So I added a few more categories like in between because it's all a spectrum, right? So I sort all these cards and you're supposed to do it really fast. Like your first impression, you're like, okay, here, don't spend more than a couple of seconds on each card. Just first impressions go, right? And so after all of these cards are sorted, she took away all the cards except for the stack that I had in the most important ones. And then she told me to choose 3, just 3. And if you look at some of these cards, like there's a lot of really, really good things and to care about in these cards. So she told me to choose 3 and that was really hard. I ended up with 5. I chose 5, but that's okay. Even that's okay. Just narrowing it down to even just 5 is great. I think this activity was really cool because for somebody like me, at least, it is really easy to get caught up in just this haze of there are so many important things to care about in the world. How could I possibly give my energy to all of them? And then I just kind of end up in this freeze state where I don't give my energy to any of them. So this activity was really good and it really helped me kind of like hone in on where are some areas I can like put my emotional, mental energies into supporting. What are some things that I can focus in on my life that like really help me to feel fulfilled? I think my top 3, hold on, I can look. Oh wait, where's my phone? There's empathy, there was creativity, and I think there was like family or like loyalty or something, and that's kind of the connection I made with it. I will put my actual cards, I will show you on the screen. But through the process of sorting these values, sorting these cards, it really helped me to kind of focus my mind more instead of getting caught up in I care about so many things, I can't do anything because there's so much wrong. And so now I can kind of hone in on ways that I personally can contribute in a way that's meaningful to me. And also, I never, while I was thinking about this, it never occurred to me that you could just pick something. There's so many things to care about, and you might care about so many things, but you can just pick something to focus on and to put your energies into. You can just pick it. They're all good. You can just pick one. Leading to my next point. Picking just one thing. So now that I have this more of a direction and more of a guide for myself, it was so much easier to just pick a way to contribute. And in the wise words of our internet uncle, Hank Green, you can't solve all the problems in the world, but you can pick one thing. And that was a summary. Probably not very good. But I will also link that video in the doobly-doo, and because that made a profound impact on my brain. I was like, I can just pick one way. I can pick one thing to contribute in. And you can decide how much energy and how much time and how much effort you put into that one thing. That one thing does not have to become your whole life. With everything happening in the world right now, home slice, my resources are limited. My resources are limited. And I am trying my best, right? But your girl doesn't have a lot of energy on most days. So I gotta pick a way that also lets me live my life. You know? The beauty of it is you get to pick how you contribute. And you get to pick how much of your resources you use for this. That could look like anything. It could look like volunteering at a food pantry. It could look like organizing a union. It could look like raising your child with a strong sense of empathy. It could be voting in your local elections, being a supportive friend. It could be anything. You get to decide. What I landed on was helping to run a local queer book club. We meet once a month. I help my local community, and I feel good about it. That is something I feel very good about doing. Do I sometimes feel like I could do more? I sometimes feel like I could be doing more, but at the same time, maybe I couldn't be doing more with my levels of energy. And this was actually something I was doing before I talked about this with my therapist, or before we did this values activity, before any of that. But it helped me to recognize, oh, I am contributing. I am giving back to my community. And just knowing that I'm contributing really helped me with this next stage of this process for me. Letting go of guilt that I could not solve all of the world's problems on my own. Now, I am not naturally a person that is prone to holding on to a lot of guilt. And I know people that feel a lot of guilt and shame. And that is a huge, huge struggle for them. If you are one of those people, my heart goes out to you. For me, that's not necessarily a big of a struggle. So this might be a bigger step for others than it is for me. Now, when those feelings of hopelessness and powerlessness and dread come up, I can say to myself, this is really shit. I can take a moment for grief and for compassion, and then just recognize that I can't right all of the world's wrongs. And just remind myself that I am contributing in a way that doesn't completely deplete my resources, in a way that is in my circle of control. And I just have to trust and support other humans that are contributing to those issues that I hear about. And honestly, the thing about letting go is sometimes you just have to let go. There's not a big magic trick about it other than just being compassionate with yourself. And that is also sometimes hard. This whole thing this is probably the hardest step for me, because it was the biggest contributing factor to my freeze state, if you will. And this all definitely is not perfect. This definitely still needs some refining, and I'm figuring it out as I go. But this kind of just knowing that I had that one thing and just saying those things to myself really helps a lot. I feel like those 3 steps of this process really helped to free up a lot of my mental and emotional resources, and even physical, because everything's connected, So just helped to free up a lot of my resources and a lot of my brain space. And what was important to me to fill that brain space with was things that I enjoy and things that bring me fulfillment. And this will look different for everybody, because everybody values different things. With the things that I fill my space with now, I try to think about the things that I value most and the things that make me the happiest. So I'm trying to fill my time with things like making this YouTube channel as a hobby, as a creative outlet, crocheting, making things. I actually, speaking of crocheting, I am actually very excited about this current project. I'm making one of those cat ear beanies, and I wanted to make one in a like Luna slash Sailor Moon style. I am going to I'm hoping that I can finish it before I publish this video so that I can show you the end result. I am so excited. I think I am going to finish it this week. So, you will know because I will overlay a video of this if I did finish it. But yeah, I'm trying to fill my time with creative activities and like spending time with my family and my friends and my boyfriend. And these are things that make me really happy. I have noticed a huge difference now that I'm able to put more of those things into my life than earlier when I was just in this freeze state. I feel like just that overwhelm puts you in this survival mode. The overwhelmingness of having all of this information about all of the shit things that are happening in the world really does just, it kind of puts you into survival mode. And in survival mode, you don't do a lot of things that are just fulfilling. You don't do a lot of things that bring you joy. So that whole thing kind of helped me to get out of that survival mode and do things again, which is huge for me. And I know that this process is certainly not a one size fits all for any humans, but if any of you are still listening and you found any of this helpful, like just take what's helpful for you and leave what's not. And I know I said this earlier, but I know that I am really coming from a place of privilege. I have a stable job. I have a really good support system. I have the means and ability to see a therapist regularly, and I'm white with a government administration that seems to be growing more racist by the day, which is so shit. And I really wish it wasn't like this. I really wish it wasn't like this. And I wish I could change it, but I am contributing in a way that is within my control and that is in the resources that I am able to give in this moment. I am going to trust and support other humans that are also contributing and hope that our combined efforts will result in change. And to wrap this up, I feel like this is getting rather long. I found that the endless feeds of TikTok and Instagram often ambush me with news and consumerism and things meant to evoke some sort of strong emotion, rage bait. I find that these things are not only just draining, but also predatory in a way that takes the control away from us, the user, and puts it into the hands of an algorithm that's purpose is to just make money off of us. All of this to say that because the system is designed this way, because of these algorithms, because these things are made by companies whose sole goal is to make money, it makes it almost impossible for us to consume this with some level of intention. And with my goal to be more intentional about this aspect of my life, I've decided I'm going to do a little experiment to see if I can fine-tune the way I consume my media, refine my internet experience. I'm going to quit TikTok for 2 weeks. This whole experiment is going to be over 2 weeks. I want to pare down who I'm following on Instagram by roughly 50%. I am going to follow my favorite indie reporters on Substack, and if they're on YouTube, I'll follow them on YouTube as well. I'm going to try out the Grounded News app that I learned about from Hank Green. Thank you, Hank Green. And I was also thinking about maybe experimenting with Tumblr. I was not on the Tumblr train back in the day when it was quite the thing, but I feel like I don't know, it just feels like it would be cool if Tumblr had a resurgence now, like this like retro rebellious sort of a vibe where we all just get off of these other mainstream just shit shows and do something cool. I don't know. I still haven't looked at Tumblr, so I can't tell you if that's how it is. But that's what I'm hoping for. A social media revolution where we all do something cool. I don't know if Tumblr is the answer. Somebody tell me. Maybe Blue Sky? But I'm hoping to free up even more mental and emotional resources and fill my life with even more things that are fulfilling and that help me find enjoyment. And throughout this experiment, I will do my best to record it and share with you the results. So keep your eye out for that video. But that is all I've got for now. If you found any of this helpful, let me know in the comments. And if you want to see how this experiment goes, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.